the program. So Rabin Chakrabarti is a newcomer in this because we have been doing 18 webinars till now.
Shall I start now?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to speak first. You're going to speak first?
Yeah, I will let you know. Let me start because I have to share some slides first. So give me some moment. Rabin, you have to stay for 1 hour or 1.5 hours. It's better. Are you having?
I think I have to go. I got one more. So I think I have this third. After you, I think I'm speaking, no?
So you want to leave the webinar in between?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just
let me finish my presentation. After you finish, then let me finish. And I'll go and finish the other one, then come back.
What time is your other presentation?
My other presentation is in a short time, actually. Because I'm already ready. I have to finish it fast. I got sort of a few more things to do.
I would be happy if you can finish that webinar and come back.
No, it will be difficult. That is a bit longer.
Okay.
This is a short presentation only for 6 minutes. So I finished, I presented, made the slides and finished it quickly.
Okay. So I go back to slide share. Okay, so good morning to Dr. Jack Lubin, who is our personal friend. Let me introduce him first. He is actually former CEO of American College of Cardiology and also the former CEO of Cardiovascular Research Foundation, which TCT is being held by. He's our personal friend. He's a now consultant in the Levin and Levin Associate, but he's himself a cardiologist and intensivist both. He has been associated with us since the beginning of webinar. We have done 18 webinar. This is actually the 19th one. I was mistaken by one in a row on COVID starting from 27th April. So I welcome him. And then at 7:30, we'll have Honorable Minister, Mr. Ramdas Athavale will be joining. So let me share the screen showing today's talk, today's presentation. I hope everybody can see that. So yes. What we are planning is that just to celebrate World Heart Day, which is from World Heart Federation, 29 September, we have kept a few talks. Earlier we were talking only on COVID, but this time we have taken a cardiology basically, but of course COVID with the background. So I will be talking a little bit of TAVI, and then there will be talk. I will adjust to Dr. Rabin before. There will be talk, which is very interesting talk, and a lot of physicians, and this is going on Facebook Live also. So I found that many engineers were interested to join this because this is artificial intelligence and cardiovascular disease in post-COVID era. So this will be done by Dr. Jack Lubin. Then Dr. Rabin, I will try to adjust it before that. We'll talk about acute MI and pharmaco-invasive treatment. Dr. Rabin Chakrabarti is a personal friend. He's basically from Calcutta. Jack is basically from Calcutta.
Yeah, I know Jack.
Okay, then
you came to Kolkata. Jack, you remember you came to Kolkata in that resort 4 years ago.
Okay, so Dr. Rabin is now still working with Apollo Hospital, or you have changed the place?
Yeah, I changed. I'm at Medica.
Yes, that was 4 years. I remember. It was wonderful.
Okay. So then we will have a talk by Dr. Rakesh Gupta. He's actually a physician and cardiologist and echocardiographer. He has done some real-time CVD presentation of COVID in India, personal experience. Our personal friend, Dr. Mukesh Goyal, who's actually a cardiothoracic surgeon, colleague in Apollo Hospital itself. And he has done a few of the left ventricular assist devices for heart failure. And Dr. Yashpal Sharma, who is the HOD, Head of Department of Cardiology in PGI Chandigarh. He will be talking about slow flow, no flow in sepsis and COVID. Here's some slide which has been there. I think everybody has to share the slide. So I have to find out how to make you co-host so that you can present the slide. And I'm stop sharing this now so that we can start the basic purpose of teaching. And this is Facebook Live for India and Paris, and also Facebook Live in India. And I think more than 500 to 800 people must be sharing because there will be public. So Rabin will talk something that general people can also understand. So Rabin, can you share your slide? Just check.
Yes, I can. Shall I share it now?
Yeah, you can share it now because you want to go. So you'll come back later on because it's 8 o'clock. Jack, I'm allowing Mr. In fact, as per his request, Dr. Rabin Chakravarti will do his first presentation.
Very good.
Is it possible to share the slide for you?
Yeah, just give me a minute.
Because this
Disable
version,
participant screen sharing.
eh?
Can you enable the screen sharing? You disable the screen sharing.
No, I'm not disabled actually. I have to enable it. This is how I have to do because this is the second version of the Zoom. Earlier version which I had, I was able to make a co-host. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. Okay, so is it possible now?
Okay.
The cardiac effects of COVID are myocarditis, and you can get arrhythmias, acute coronary syndrome. So of this particular number, when I come to the pure study, they had a 64. This is the biggest group in nutrition in the whole world. Professor Walt Willett to stays in the lung and the heart and explodes and causes a storm. And
Go on.
Where is this sound coming actually? Okay, can you figure out?
Okay, can you see my slides? Vivek?
Yeah, perfect, perfect.
Okay, so I'll start now.
Okay, good.
Okay, so good evening from India and good morning to Jack. Nice to see you after so many years. If you remember, you were with us a long time ago.
Wonderful to see you. Yes, it's great.
Yeah, I remember you had a Lee's yourself, and I think we had a wonderful meeting of BIT.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Anyway, so great to see you again. You haven't changed much though. So we are going to take, there is a short talk on pharmacoinvasive therapy STEMI. So we all know that STEMI management options are either you go for primary PCI or primary fibrinolytic therapy like rescue PCI. When fibrinolytic therapy fails, it could be immediate or facilitated PCI if you have to do PCI within less than 3 hours after fibrinolysis therapy. And it could be pharmacoinvasive PCI, which means you do intervention after, which means you do PCI after 4 hours of fibrinolytic therapy. And this is the data. It shows that obviously if you do primary PCI, your TB flow, reocclusion rate, survival benefit is far more as compared to thrombolytic therapy. But there are situations when you cannot do primary PCI. For example, in many countries, there may not be enough PCI capable centers, so you may have to bank on thrombolytic therapy. But it's important that in 24 hours time, you may have to transfer the patient to a PCI capable center for intervention. Now, what exactly we mean by pharmacoinvasive approach? Pharmacoinvasive approach means, it means first administration of early fibrinolysis, symptomatically performing an angiogram, and then PCI within 3 to 24 hours after the start of fibrinolytic therapy, regardless of whether fibrinolysis results in successful reperfusion or not. And that is what is called pharmacoinvasive therapy. This is an interesting slide. It shows conclusion. So this slide is basically a data which has been collected from Minneapolis Heart Institute, a very remarkable trial, and they have enrolled actually more than 2,600 patients. And the conclusion of that particular trial is they actually did half dose of PPA followed by PCI within 3 to 24 hours time. And this Minneapolis Heart Institute data is so interesting and so substantiative. And it says that pharmacoinvasive approach utilizing a reduced dose of fibrinolytic combined with immediate transfer for PCI is a safe and effective reperfusion strategy for STEMI patients with expected delays due to long distances to a PCI center. Because we know that many patients present to hospitals without PCI capability. PCI often cannot realistically occur within 60 to 90 minutes. And we got also database which shows that only 26 or 27% of patients may receive fibrinolytic therapy. And if you look at the data of FINESS trial, which basically enrolls STEMI patients within less than 6 hours, and then they try to randomize with apixaban and Retiplase, they actually showed that it failed. Because if you want to do immunolytic therapy full dose and immediately within 3 hours, you want to do PCI, you can probably achieve a good flow rate, good kind of TB flow, but there's significant increased risk of bleeding. And early period paradoxically is also prothrombotic due to degradation products. Immediate PCI may increase the bleeding and also paradoxically increase base ischemic endpoints. 2B3 inhibitors may also reduce the thrombotic complication, but there's a huge cost of excess of bleeding, so it is not a good trial. If you look at the CIAM-3 trial, or if you look at the GRACE-1 trial, or if you look at the WEST trial, or even look at the TRANSFER AMI trial, remarkable trial, published something like 10 years ago in New England Journal of Medicine, or even GRACE-2 trial, published something like 12 years ago in European Heart Journal of 212 patients. And of late, STREAM investigators trial of fibrolysis or primary PCI in ST segment elevated mitral infarction trial. All these trials actually have shown significant benefit of fibrolysis, followed by after 3 and within 24 hours of invasive approach has shown probably equal, if not better benefit in patients of acute mitral infarction. All these trials summarizes that TB flow rates is probably no different between pharmaco-invasive treatment and primary PCI, which is interesting. Repercussion strategies in STEMIs, if you have a diagnostic STEMI patient, and if you have primary PCI capable centers in one side or non-primary PCI capable centers on the other side. Of course, in primary PCI capable centers, you take the patient for primary PCI. Some of the patient may also require primary rescue PCI if immediate transfer after fibrinolytic therapy patient continues to have problem. But in non-capable PCI centers, and if you take the patient, start thrombolytic therapy. After 3 hours, within 24 hours, you have to take the patient for PCI. Some of these patients may require rescue PCI. And after that, this was published in European Heart Journal something like 8 years ago. But we have challenges for STEMI system even in India. Let us look at the data in India. Primary PCI is available to only less than 10% of STEMI patients in India because of lack of awareness, because of lack of transfer facilities, unavailability of hospitals with PCI facility, casualty in emergency department of cath lab, finance problem, obtaining consent, cath lab occupied, or unavailability of cardiologists round the clock. So these are the issues which are very practical and real world issues. We need to understand that. We have a data in India called CREATE registry, and it has shown that 20,000 patients were enrolled in CREATE registry, where 60% patients had STEMI, which is 12,405 patients. The median time of arrival of hospital was 300 minutes. Initiation of fibrinolysis was done within 50 minutes. And after that, patients were transferred for PCI. Only 9% had primary PCI. We had similar registry in one state of India called Kerala registry, because the STEMI was the most common ACS admission, highest in hospital mortality rates, less likely to have any formal education, present more than 6 hours after symptom onset, 90% received antiplatelet therapy. Thrombolytics were used in 41%, and inappropriate thrombolysis was relatively high. So it is very important for us, especially in countries like India and similar sort of countries like Middle East, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, maybe some countries in South America, some countries, Indonesia, so many countries in the worldwide, because we need to understand the time is myocardial. For each 30 minutes delay in treatment of STEMI patients, 1 year mortality is increased by 7.5%. Mortality benefit with primary PCI is lost if PCI is done late after 60 minutes. Practically, early fibrinolytic therapy can compensate for PCI related delay. Proportional mortality reduction was significantly higher in patients treated within 2 hours of fibrinolysis. So it is important for countries like India and similar countries where even probably in USA, when you do not have the approach to a PCI capable center, this is a good option And one really has to look into this option in a good significant number of patients to save life and to avoid complication of STEMI patients. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Robin, for a very crisp, short, brief, and still comprehensive review of the pharmacoinvasive approach, and which is very interesting and important, especially in COVID era, because we are not able to do complete PCI, especially unless, you know, in Apollo Hospital, let me say that whenever the patient comes in triage, we still have to wait for minimum 2 hours for the gene expert, which is RT-PCR. And this is a golden time because you can't wait and you never know which patient, because in seropositivity rate as such in India, you have found that 30% patients are actually seropositive, and therefore you never know which patient is actually COVID. So in that context, I think it's something very difficult to take a decision. We cannot take a call on highly good ST elevation, MI, and TAVOL, patient may not be in cardiogenic shock, impending cardiogenic shock, and without COVID, you can't take. So what is your stay? Because should we take the patient because it's primary PCI with PPE kit and everything, considering that this is actually a patient of COVID positive? Because unless proved otherwise, it's a positive patient, I would say at this point of time. So what is your thinking?
Vivek I'm very happy that you made such comment. You're so right, especially in COVID time. We actually cannot do the cath lab procedures unless we know that the COVID status of the patient. So large number of patients who actually even come with STEMI, we are preferring thrombolytic therapy at the first instance. But in case, sometimes we do TrueNAT, which can be done quickly, or some of these patients, for some other reason, might have COVID done maybe a couple of days earlier. If it's being known, then the situation is different. But largely, fibrinolytic therapy is good. And after that, you got 24 hours time in your hand. So if should you decide to go for PCI, maybe you can go ahead with thrombolytic therapy initially, then within 24 hours time, when your reports of COVID is ready, you can take the patient for PCI for complete revascularization.
But maybe in an impending cardiogenic shock with PP kit and all full precaution, you may take the patient still.
Agreed, absolutely. That is a different situation altogether. That may be something like 3 to 4%, or maybe maximum 5% of the total patients.
Okay, thank you, Rabin, and it was a really interesting talk. And I would request you to come back, maybe because it will continue for a little longer time. So I would like you to have further comments and further sessions, because we'll have follow-up. Thank you so much. So let us talk to, I think we have to change the sequence. I would still request, especially artificial intelligence is a very interesting talk, and I have requested Dr. Jack Lewin. For his time, he will be hard stop at 10:30 a.m. That means we have about 1 hour for him. So may I request Dr. Yashpal Sharma to come and give his deliberation. And when the Honorable Minister joins in at about 7:30, I would like that time, maybe Jack can speak. Jack is fine for you?
Yes, that will work fine.
Okay, so Dr. Yashpal Sharma, you will share the slide yourself, or I should share the slide from this side?
I think you should start sharing. First of all, thank you, Dr. Vivek. In fact, it's a great pleasure. As you know, the World Heart Day is a very important day. On this day, we first remember all our colleagues who left this world because of healthcare professional hazard. More than 25,000, maybe now the number might have exceeded. And to all our patients also, who cardiac patient and other patients who lost their life. And this is really first, this World Heart Day, which has come during this pandemic. In fact, the Spanish flu was there. World Heart Day started in 1990, somewhere 9, this one. So our aim was, as you know, to have a heart to treat the heart patients. So very passionately, this one to take care of our patient, self, healthcare workers, and society. So this is very important. In fact, since morning, we were busy in the World Heart Day, first with the this 9 principal nine nursing college, then our departmental, then various activities are going on. Of course, the day was for also cath lab angioplasty today. But really, I just came 15 minutes back and was talking to Dr. Vivek. He was also telling that I am come from angioplasty. Same day, as you know, every cardiologist is busy with work, and definitely this is our professional duty also to have the webinar and spread the knowledge. It's very interesting that as we discussed in our last webinars also, basically the concept of slow flow, no reflow, coronary thrombosis, endothelial dysfunction and with sepsis in COVID era and pre-COVID era. So that is such a big concept. In fact, we, by the grace of God, we are really in that way thankful to the our Almighty that our experience of last 1 decade, which was there, just slowly slides, Vivek.
You let me know whenever I have to, when you have, I have to next slide, you tell me.
Or you can, this one, give it to me. I can also share this on my screen.
You have already got the slides yourself. You have sent me, so you can share the screen if you want. You have the slides on your computer. You can start sharing. I'm stop sharing. So you are sharing yourself? Sorry for that small interruption, but I think it's better that he should share the slide himself. You have to unmute yourself. हेमंत जी सारी सेटिंग कर लिया आपने सर? तो अभी थोड़ी देर में करेंगे, कितनी देर में ज्वाइन करेंगे? है हेलो, कोई बात नहीं, 8 बजे 7:30 पौने 8 बजे कर लें। 7:30 कहा था उन्होंने वैसे हेमंत जी ने।
Sorry for interruption. I think Vivek, I am starting again. Basically, this year, use your heart to treat the patient with passionate. So basically, the 360-degree approach is very important. On this day, PGI Cardiology, this was a webinar we were just running, the recognizing eminent cardiologists and their contribution to the cardiology. Its contribution to cardiology has been increasing since 2 decades. The cardiologist has saved so many lives of sick patients that is unparalleled with any other branch. As this is just regarding PGI, our work in cardiogenic shock, acute coronary syndrome by a precision approach with precision therapeutic and interventional approach. In the era of pandemic, PGI has contributed immensely to the field of COVID-19 and cardiovascular disease. This endothelial dysfunction leading to prothrombotic state was disseminated as early as December 2019 when the pandemic has started in China and then subsequently in Italy and US. In fact, we at that time didn't have COVID positive patients, but from our experience, as we discussed in the webinar, that this is a prothrombic state. Taking the patient immediately to the cath lab on the name of primary angioplasty may have adverse effect on the patient as well as the healthcare worker, as it was being discussed by Dr. Vivek Gupta just now with Dr. Robin Chakravarti also. Basically, in the PAMI trial, if you see the exclusion and inclusion criteria were so soft, they never mentioned about comorbid diseases. They never mentioned about sepsis. They never mentioned about HIV. They never mentioned about hepatitis C. So these things were so this one. I doubt that previously also there were some healthcare workers which got infected, because when we know, we take precautions. When we do not know, we do not know. I remember one of our very senior, this one founder of PGI, Professor Chutani, he got infected with hepatitis C long back when he got operated in Houston for CABG, along with our president, Gyani Jail Singh. So it was very unfortunate when I came to know that while blood transfusion at that time, hepatitis C was not being detected, he had cirrhosis. So that sort of, this was going in my mind, that safety of patient as well as healthcare worker is of utmost importance. So we were investigating the saying that this is prothrombic state. Nobody was investigating for SARS, MERS, H1N1 earlier, but we were doing cases and there were so many hazard to the patient as well as to this. So World Heart Day, this endothelial dysfunction, we were discussing the prothrombic state only behind various cardiovascular and pulmonary vascular causes. So endothelial dysfunction is a key player of risk factors of sepsis in COVID and ACS. The management by precision and integrated approach is utmost important. This is a patient which was seropositive after COVID. We did angio. The flow and of thrombus burden was so much that patient was in shock and he was on NIV and triple inotrope. Very sick patient. So we gave 2B3 Terofeban and this cardioprotective drugs and support. And after stabilizing him, there was severe MR also. So by giving iron, albumin, as Dr. Vivek I used to discuss with you, the hemodynamic improved, all trimethazidine, carnitine, injectable, terofeban, diuretic. The patient was MR decreased, and subsequently after 3-4 days, by controlling his counts, but TLC was 30,000. So that bringing to 10,000, we did angioplasty, and the patient was discharged after 2 weeks, and his check class 2. And this cardiology consultation, he's doing well. So basically, it is a strategy that how this was a patient of cardiogenic shock, basically, with blood pressure of 70, 80. By giving fluid, controlling sepsis, NIV, by keeping IABP on the bedside CCU. But luckily, with inotrope, fluid, and everything, controlling sepsis, we could improve the outcome in this patient, and patient is now on 1 month follow-up. Similarly, endothelial affects this function affects every organ in the body. It influences morbidity, mortality, affecting cardiovascular, nervous, pulmonary vasculature, this endocrinology, gynecological, erectile dysfunction, intestinal, peripheral vascular disease, in renal failure also. So basically, the leukocyte adhesion, platelet activation, and smooth muscle proliferation, migration. So restenosis and this thrombosis are more common when there is an endothelial dysfunction in the coronaries. So if you see it, the endothelium provides so many hormones: nitric oxide, prostaglandin, prostacyclin, thromboxane 2, endothelial hyperpolarizing factor, endothelin 1, 2, angiotensin 2, C-reactive natriuretic peptide, controls vascular inflammatory process, monocyte chemotactic factor, adhesion molecule expression, interleukin 1, 6, 18, TNF. The proposes It predisposes vessel to vascular lesion, inflammation, vasoconstriction, thrombosis, plaque progression, rupture, leading to atherosclerotic complications requiring either percutaneous or surgical revascularization. An important prognostic marker for cardiovascular disease and future cardiovascular events. It is relevant in cardiovascular disease, but also found in neurological, gastrointestinal, rheumatological, hematological, and renal disease. This sheer stress because of hypoxia, cytokine, sepsis, hyperlipidemia, viruses, cigarette smoke. Now the virus and hypoxia and sepsis is causing sheer stress in the coronary, leading on to the activation of this procoagulant adhesion molecules and altered expression of chemokines, cytokines, and growth factors. So this is very important. This pathophysiology has emerged as a main important cause of this one coronary procoagulant stage, coronary thrombosis, VT, VF in COVID era because of so many patients clustered in the hospital simultaneously. So, of course, as you know, many drugs are there to decrease the endothelial dysfunction, lipid lowering, fenofibrate, omega-3, statin, renin-angiotensin system blockade, nebivolol, aspirin, NAC, N-acetylcysteine, estrogen and other selective estrogen receptor modulators, endothelin receptor blockade, insulin sensitizers, metformin, rosiglitazone, all these improve endothelial function. The Department of Cardiology is instrumental in starting telemedicine for this procoagulant stage, which was further taken by the government as e-Sanjeevani. In fact, when the lockdown started, we were worried about our stent patients that these will sometimes may not get the medicines and the stent thrombosis will occur. We gave it a press release by this one that all patients should have the store of at least 3 months, because we were prescribing on WhatsApp or on this one. Even the court law said that these will be reimbursed. No problem. Patients should continue with the medicine. So this definitely helped in containing this one pandemic also, and patients by bill signing, medical certificate signing by post, and everything was started just 5-7 days after the lockdown. So various press releases were given. The telecalls are being, this one started in the PGI first time, and even the mask, wearing mask, and as you know, in various webinars it was discussed, and in PGI alumni meeting, the strategy having 1 test, 2 tests, and then subsequently taking COVID positive and negative isolation, treating COVID positive also very well and negative also very well. Because if they got mixed, even COVID negative patients suffered because many of the doctors went on quarantine for some 10 days. Some of this one, there was a breach in this, only 1 test after this some consultant took, because I think that was out of my this one knowledge. But those 10 days, our resident staff and those got quarantine, and 10 days were very difficult even for the other emergencies, although we were doing this one dire emergency. So basically now again with 2 tests and taking all precautions for COVID negative and treating the COVID positive also well.
I just want to tell you that.
I will take a
No, you can continue. I just want to tell you that because of technical reasons, this will stop in 1 or 2 minutes, then we'll rejoin. So you can continue.
Okay.
Yeah, it may stop for 40 minutes is the time, which I did not know. You can continue. But if it stops automatically, then we'll immediately rejoin everybody.
Okay. Basically, I just tell you, this was a patient, first patient of COVID positive, which was because, as you know, the US, Italy, there were infection first. So we were just contemplating that it is a procoagulant state. But when this patient came to PGI, first patient around 70 year, and had extensive interior wall MI with LV dysfunction, with borderline pressure. So he was lyzed, and you know, the first instance when treatment has to be given, sometimes there are challenges to start the medication by different this one team. Though we made a committee and everything, this cardiology faculty committee, our consultant was there. We were monitoring this patient every 4 hourly. So this patient, after giving lysis and after 4 to 6 hours, starting 2B3A inhibitor, as we were using in other sepsis and in our ward. So this patient, ST settled everything. We gave this albumin, this other drug, iron, IV iron. You know, in our hospital, if you see, hemoglobin of patient is 10, 11, which we consider to be normal. Many times I said, raising the hemoglobin improves in saturation as well as cardiac function so significantly that it is unimaginable. So his ejection fraction also improved to 55%. He is also on follow-up. The patient with chronic lung disease having TR on this NIV, and some of the patients, they were even on ventilator. So this was also managed with 2B3A and antiplatelet cardioprotective drugs, including nicorandil, intravenous infusion with BP monitoring. So everything, EF improved, the patient was discharged. This was another patient, middle-aged, massive pericardial effusion and tamponade, in shock. Our resident immediately did pericardiocentesis, later on came positive. Resident was quarantined and he was started ATT plus albumin plus this all drugs, and later on pericardial catheter and pericardial window was made and patient was discharged and is on this 4 months teleconsultation follow-up. So a child with nephrotic syndrome having severe LV systolic dysfunction, EF 15 to 20%, and he was so thick, then anti-failure measures, iron, albumin, nutrient support, steroid, along with other drugs for this COVID, which medicine people were also giving. But this was our from cardiology side. You know, we had a lot of experience of giving albumin, which we published in BMJ also. We advocate with sepsis and where the nutritional support immediately is needed. And you cannot give right tube feeding because of aspiration and status of the unconscious patient. So in that, small dose of albumin along with small dose diuretic or otherwise helps in improving the outcome so significantly that patient with sepsis and comorbid diseases, and even the ejection fraction improves because hemoglobin is heme plus globin. Heme is porphyrin plus iron, this one combined together in a ring. So giving protein and iron immediately improves the ejection fraction, heart function, sepsis. So endothelial function is also improved. Iron plays a great role in improving the endothelial function and procoagulant state. So for this, my take-home message is that Corona will teach us a lesson that every patient has to be tested in the future, whether it is for Corona, whether it is for hepatitis C, HIV, or any this one. Even legally, nobody can challenge it because, you know, sometimes there used to be legal that you cannot do any test, do HIV test, right? But the thing is, if HIV is there, doctor will get HIV, and adjoining any legal or bureaucrat who is there in the hospital, he will get. So this will spread onto the infection. COVID is very contagious, but other diseases are also important. So in the future, the battery of tests in hospital has to be there at a low cost so that safety of healthcare worker, patient,